Hey, after working in animation for 5 years now, I'm making an animated short film, and you can too. So even if you've never made a short before, by the end of the series, you'll have all the skills you need to create an entertaining animated short film. Let's get it. All right, so I'm starting big picture, broad strokes of what you need to get started. For this particular project that I'm gonna be using, I am making an 2D animated short film. So that is going to set the foundation for what this series is. Obviously a 3D short film is gonna look a little bit different, but you can still take the same principles and apply it for those additional steps as they need. So the first thing that you'll need is a story. I'll go in depth about the writing process in another video, but the idea has to be something that is able to practically be executed. And what I mean by that is I'm not talking like the concept, like you can do pretty much whatever you want. What I'm talking about, because again, my series is specifically as an adult with very limited time. How do you make a short that is actually going to be completed? If your animated short is gonna be full of action and have like 20 jillion crowd characters and heavy effects, maybe just rethink it, make it a little bit smaller in scale. I think that's more practical. Now you may be like, oh my gosh, but Candace, there's like 30-minute shorts that exist out there. That's great. That's so fantastic. Guess what? That's not you. If they've done that, maybe they got a team. Maybe they're just built like that, but that's not you. And I'm not saying that can't be you. I'm just saying at this moment in time, it's not you. They've probably have teams full of people who can help, or they've got time, or they've got money. And I'm not gonna tell you like the magical length that a short should be, because ultimately you can do whatever you want. But I personally recommend a short that is between 1 minute and 7 minutes for animation. It's not a rule, I'm just saying it, that the shorter it is, the more likely it is that you will actually complete it. Something that people don't really think about, especially like when it comes to like 2D and 3D for that matter, but all animation, you have to like draw / animate every like frame. Like, so for the 2D folks out there, it's like, bro, like if your short is like a minute and you're doing, let's say you're doing everything on like 2s, so that's like 60 seconds, right? Every second has 12 drawings. I can't do math, but do the math. 12, this is embarrassing, hold up. I am a big girl who knows how to do math. 12 times 60 is 720 for 1 minute. Multiply that by, let's say, 5 minutes. That's 3,600. You're drawing all that. Or maybe you're not. I don't know. That's why I recommend keeping it on the shorter side. Again, you can do whatever you want, but I just highly recommend for practical purposes is the shorter it is, the more likely it is that you'll actually finish it, especially for your first short. I would say your first short is not the time to debut your grand odyssey that is like 20 minutes long. I don't think this is the place for that. And if you want to do that, fine, do it, but like, good luck. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Good luck. I'll see you if you finish. So the third thing that you'll need is to figure out what programs you want to use and to have a general idea of the art direction. So this will be like a whole other video, but basically you'll want to figure out in what form do you want this animated short to be. Is it 2D hand-drawn? Is it like 2D paper cutout? Is it 3D? Is it stop motion? Whatever it is, some things to consider is it accessible to you? So let's say you have a 3D short that you want to make, but you've never touched the 3D programs before in your life. That's totally okay, and you absolutely can and try to learn, and you absolutely should. But for the sake of completing a short, perhaps maybe you would want to try something that is a little bit more accessible, just because 3D programs do have a bit of a learning curve. If you have the time to do it, then absolutely you should do it. But maybe it's like, okay, well maybe if you want the dimensionality that you're like craving from 3D, then maybe stop motion might be something that might be a little bit more accessible. You make your puppet and you keep it to a limited number of backgrounds and environments, and then bam, like you could have that. I'm not saying that that's the only solution or anything like that. I'm just giving an example. I think that you want to keep your short accessible to you. especially if this is a solo project. All of this is operating under the assumption that you are doing this by yourself, by the way. Teams are a completely different story. But if you are a solo creator of your short, maybe 2D might just be more accessible just because it's a little bit more straightforward. You gotta draw them. It comes with the mileage that comes with that and all of other kind of complications, but at the end of the day, it's about the drawing. So knowing what kind of short will help you with the next steps. So next is that you will want to plan. And I'm not talking about getting super crazy on making like a production schedule at this point in time. But if you want to get this done, you will need to set a realistic deadline and maybe have some accountability partners. So I'm gonna pause for a second just on the realistic deadline. Animation takes a lot longer than you think. Real talk with me for just a second, guys. We've got jobs, okay? Like, we've got birthday parties, there's holidays, there's travel plans. You name it, life happens. There are going to be days where you just need to stop and rest. Account for that when you're planning your schedule. I'm gonna tell you right now that you aiming to complete a short in 1 year with no breaks and working 20 hours a week outside of your full-time job. This is what you look like. I'm gonna show you right now. This right here, yeah, this is you. This is you. Girl, you were asking for a missed deadline. You really are. You're asking for it. Instead, I would recommend creating a buffer. I think in general, what I am doing is I am accounting for 3 weeks, 3 weeks of miscellaneous travel days, vacation days, birthday parties, goofing off, just miscellaneous whatever, just to keep it grounded. That's something that I would recommend as a starting point. I personally care a lot about my own health, so I have built-in kind of rest days to my own schedule anyway, but if it helps you, put it in the schedule. Be like, yep, I'm taking a break like once a month. I'm gonna make sure I have like that specific set of time where I'm not doing stuff. You cannot grind forever. I know you think that you can, but you can't. Especially when you're making something that you're like passionate about. Like, there's gonna come the point where that initial excitement and stuff runs out and you're gonna be running on just discipline getting it done. The motivation will not be there. You will need rest. You need time to recuperate and to just have a fresh slate. So the next bit is about discipline. Look, fam, you're not gonna like every step of the process. It's gonna get annoying. You cannot run on the initial like, oh yeah, oh boy, everything's like fantastic. No, that's not gonna happen. I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna happen. But you just have to do it. You kind of have to work through each part of the process, regardless of whether or not you like it. There are ways to kind of like go around this, because again, if you're working on a team, you can do just the part that you like and then hand off the stuff to everyone else. And that is totally valid. That is not like a bad way of working. But again, I'm kind of making this series centered around the assumption that you are making this solo, that you are making this animated short all you. So with that assumption, you are not going to like every part of the process. I am gonna be so for real with you. I do not actually like the animation part of the process. I love the storyboarding. I love the initial writing. I love figuring out how everything is gonna look. Beyond that, I know I'm gonna be in for pain and it's fine. I know that there are people who thrive on that. Like, I know there are people who love animation and that's fantastic. Not this girl, could not be me. But I'm gonna do it anyway because I want my film to come to life. So what might actually help you with this process, especially with discipline, is having accountability partners. And an accountability partner is basically just someone who you tell them like what your goals are, what you want to accomplish or whatever, and they are holding you to that. You are making a promise to this person that I'm gonna finish this thing, I'm going to write this thing, I'm going to draw 3 things or like whatever it is. And they are saying, hey, you said you would have this done on this date. Is it done? And that is super helpful. It's helpful because you are like, essentially you're verbally saying out loud to another person what needs to get done. It's helpful for me. And I'm gonna tell you, so I'm gonna be so for real right now. I have 2 accountability partners, love them dearly. I get stuff done because there is the looming promise that is in the background that if I don't do a thing, that they will be around to like beat me up figuratively, not literally, but figuratively. Sometimes I'll even, like, if it's like a big enough deadline, sometimes I'll tell them, hey, if I don't have this whole script done by like this date, I'm giving you each $100. Does Candace have $100 to give? No. So guess what? I'm gonna make sure I do it because I'm not giving you $100. I don't care who you are, I'm not giving you $100. So it gets me off my butt to actually do things. And I don't always use money as like the incentive. I usually save money for like bigger things, like things that I'm actually at risk of not getting done. I usually will tell them like the money incentive. For like the day-to-day things, I'm just like, hey, like punch me in the face if I don't show you like a drawing that I'm working on or something like that. The smaller scale ones are more normal than money, but I will say money is an incredibly motivating factor to get stuff done. But yeah, so accountability partners I think are just really great. It's also just fun to like have a space to talk about your project. I will say, just like with the accountability partners, again, I don't really go into specific details with them about like every nitty-gritty little thing, but it is nice that there's someone else besides me that is coming alongside me on this journey of making a short. It kind of makes me feel a little bit less crazy. I'm gonna briefly go into the major steps needed in order to make an animated short, but the series as a whole will go super in depth on each part of the process. So step number 1 is your idea. This is your idea. It's exactly what it sounds like. You have to have an idea to start this whole process. Step number 2 is about the script writing phase. This is where you do the writing. Very self-explanatory. Step number 3 is storyboarding. This is bringing the script to life. This is where you make the blueprint for the entire film. It's also personally my favorite part of the process. So step 3.5 is scratch acting. This is an optional step because this depends on whether or not you have dialogue. If your short has no dialogue, great, you won't need it. And so basically I just record myself like saying all of the lines in the script. It's usually really bad, but this is just to get an idea of the intention of how to act out the lines. If you choose to have real voice actors come in at this point, you totally can, but it just depends on like the general timeline that you have for your short. Step 4 is creating an animatic. Editing is something that's just going to be happening throughout the process, but timing this out now will help give you a blueprint for the entire film for later. I think visually seeing how everything is coming together at this point is just really helpful. Step 5 is the visual development. This is exploring the look of the short. This includes character design, environments, color scripts, all of that good stuff. So this is where I'd be grabbing a lot of environment and character references. Step 6 is production. So that sounds really weird, but just hear me out. What I mean by that is basically at this step, this is where I'm actually like doing all of the planning. Production is going to happen throughout the entire thing, but at this specific point, I'm creating a film schedule. You have the boards, you know how many shots are needed, so now you just need to plan the amount of time it takes to complete each step. This is also where I would start to plan the organizational structure of how you're going to upload files. For me, I'm going to be using Google Drive. It's basic, it's easy. This is also, I would say, the point in which if you were to have open calls for, let's say, voice actors or like sound designers or whatever you may need, I think this is kind of the point where you want to start putting the word out there that like, hey, I'm going to need so-and-so for my short. Put the info out there. I would loop all of that in here. This is a big, heavy planning stage. Step 7 is creating the backgrounds. In this example for this series, I am going under the assumption of working through a 2D animated short. This is going to look completely different for 3D shorts and stop motion and stuff. But for 2D, this is where I'm actually physically creating the backgrounds. So step 7.5. This is an insert step, which again kind of ties back down to whether or not you have dialogue or no dialogue. But this is where before you start animating, I would make sure that you have the real voice acting in your short at this point. Just because the next step is animation and you're gonna want to like have the reflected acting in the animation. So step 8 is rough animation. This is where you're bringing in the storyboards and you're just roughing out the general movements of the characters. You can use different programs, whatever that looks like, Clip Studio, Toon Boom, like whatever that looks like, but this is kind of where the main crux of the animation happens. Step 9 is cleanup animation. exactly what it sounds like. You're going through every single one of those drawings and you're cleaning them up. This is where you have to be very precise. And this is definitely the most tedious part of the process. Step 10 is the color phase. This is when you are coloring everything. You're coloring, you're filling in the characters, whatever that looks like, any props, any miscellaneous objects, things like that. So step 11 is compositing. It's also my second favorite part of the process. I think it's super fun just because this is when everything comes together. You can use a program like After Effects or whatever else you feel comfortable with, but this is where you're overlaying everything. You're bringing in the backgrounds, you're bringing in the character acting and all of that, and this is the first kind of initial look that you're getting at your short. Step 12 is sound design. I don't want to skip this step, and I hope you do not skip this step either. Sound is so important to a good short. I think this might be my next favorite part of the process just because exploring the sound landscape is super fun to me and super fascinating. But this is kind of where you are diving deep into the sound design for your short. And after that, a little bonus step is creating your credits. This is the opportunity to have something that is within the general vibe of your short, but it is something completely different. I think making the credits is really fun. And that's your short. All right, so I'm gonna talk about a bonus. Get an external hard drive. Please back up your files. Please back up your files. Please back up your files. If you don't do it, don't say I didn't warn you. So in my next video in this series, I'm gonna delve into script writing for an animated short. So anyways, hope that helps. Okay, bye.